right, Josh, we had some big things going on at the NBA trade deadline, and one of them involves our current Cleveland Cavaliers because the core four is no longer a thing because I wish I didn't shave yesterday, or I could have said fear the beard is here in Cleveland. James Harden for Darius Garland swap.
Yeah, I am not happy about this trade at all. I do not trust James Harden. He folds like a hand in poker. Um, he you can't count on him. You know, he if he gets sick, it's like he's allergic to a game 7. Because
Or game
remember,
six. How about game six?
yeah. So I'm just like, really? You want James Harden? I get that Darius Garland hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's having toe problems. I understand that. But James Harden? Really?
So here's my take. I'm going to go full in a vacuum on this. But 7, 8 years ago, when James Harden had won the back-to-back MVPs of the Houston Rockets, I adored James Harden. I thought he was one of the top 3 greatest scorers, not players, just greatest scorers I've ever seen in the basketball court. But then I've watched him struggle, obviously, the last 5 or 6 postseasons, easily flame out, quit out of Houston, get fat, eat Oreos, and quit out of Brooklyn, and now here he is finding a way to quit out of Los Angeles. But I think you have to take the James Harden and Darius Garland trade and then pair it with the Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder for DeAndre Hunter, and then eventually they trade Lonzo Ball. All of the moves the Cleveland Cavaliers made in a vacuum. Because what the Cavs did is they reset their point guard. So James Harden will play the point guard, and Dennis Schroeder, who we already saw last night against the Clippers, will provide big impact on the bench, whether it's scoring, stealing, assisting, whatever it may be for the Cavs. He will provide a legitimate punch off the bench. Keon Ellis is a very good three-point shooter. You hope he will be more reliable than a DeAndre Hunter, along with the eventual hope that Max Strus comes off the bench. I agree with you, Josh, that James Harden for Darius Garland, while James Harden is a better, more offensive player than Garland is, I think he will struggle on the defensive side of the ball. I do think that a James Harden Donovan Mitchell fit is a weird fit, but I don't think this move is necessarily for this season. Would the Cavs love to win the championship this season? Absolutely yes. But I think getting James Harden for this year open up a window where next year they can go after either LeBron or Giannis or, excuse me, potentially both. I think at that point, they will go all in on winning the championship for the 2026-2027 season.
I don't trust James Harden defensively. I'm a little bit nervous about how Harden and Donovan Mitchell are going to work together in the backcourt because they both want the ball in their hands. But I will give Harden credit for this. He is great at when he is more the point guard and he can get the big man involved. So I do think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley both will benefit from Harden greatly. I will give Harden that. But my biggest problem with him, is not just that he folds like a bad hand in poker, but what did he do? Oh, I want to go from Houston to Philadelphia, or from Houston
to Brooklyn, and then to Philly, and then to the Clippers. And I said, one of those times when he wanted to get out of Brooklyn, he got fat and ate Oreos to get himself out of there.
But
so,
what I'm getting at, though, is he basically quit on all those teams. And
yeah. I mean, that's my concern is basically, here's what happened. The Cavs flame out in the second round again. they end up not getting another caliber player like a LeBron or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, and James Harden asks out. I think, though, and I told a buddy of mine this the other day, we can talk about James Harden, we can talk about Donovan Mitchell all we want. The Cavaliers will go in the playoffs as far as their physicality will go, and I'm not even talking about Jared Allen, aka if Evan Mobley takes that next step when he gets back, which he's hurt again. And if you would have told me 2 years ago the thought of trading Evan Mobley for Giannis, I would have thought you were crazy. I would have done it today if I knew I could guarantee myself to get James Harden to sign up for next year and get Giannis healthy for next year, because I'm trying to win a championship. And at this point in time right now, I do not feel like Evan Mobley is physical enough to win the Cavs a championship. But I will give them this. At least they had some BALLS and did something and got away from the core four. And at this point, the core four is basically dead outside of Evan Mobley.
Yeah. I don't know why you spelled that out. You could have just said it, but whatever.
I did it for evidence. If you really want me to say it, at least they had some balls and made a move at the deadline.
Yeah, they were one of the more active teams at the trade deadline. But from everything I've heard, Donovan Mitchell might not re-sign with us if the Cavs have an early playoff exit.
Well, that's why they made this move for Harden, because I think this all comes down to this coming summer. What are the Cavs going to do this summer? Because, again, I like the additions of Schroeder and Ellis. I think they're good moves off the bench. But I don't think just Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen alone is going to win you a championship. I like Jalen Tyson a lot. Love him. Do I think he needs to take a back seat for a LeBron, or do you want to trade for Giannis? Absolutely, yes, I do.
Oh, I agree with that. I'm surprised.
I think the Cavs next year they want a starting lineup of James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, LeBron, Giannis, and Jared Allen. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I just don't think the Bucks would trade him to a division foe.
I love how Europe. I don't think the Bucks care about the division. I think they care more about the conference. They really don't give a rip about divisions in basketball.
I just can't see the Bucks doing it.
I mean, they're going to take the biggest offer, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I personally don't like this move. I've never been a fan of James Harden.
I find him fun to watch. I mean, I like John Morant. He's incredible to watch. When he was in his prime, I think he was one of the best scorers I've ever seen.
Oh, you're not wrong. I got to see him drop 50 against the Sacramento Kings.
Well, I'm a fan of James Harden when he's on his good behavior. I think James Harden's still a very good basketball player. I don't think he's a winning player.
Like I said, when things don't go his way, he pouts. He quits. He is allergic to Game 6, and he's allergic to Game 7. Prime example, Philadelphia against Boston, Game 7 in Boston. He was nowhere to be seen. Game 6 against the San Antonio Spurs when he was with the Houston Rockets, absolutely terrible. And there's countless other examples I could point to.
So a year ago, Anthony Davis was traded for Luka Doncic. And a year later, he is traded to the middle of basically hell in Washington, D.C. to pair up with Trae Young for maybe next year. Who knows? But AD went from getting traded for Luka to being traded for nothing in a year.
Yeah. It seems like the Wizards actually think they can be something next season, which is weird because they really don't have anything.
I mean, they have Trae Young, AD, and Sar. I think that's like a top 5 or 6 seed in the East.
Don't they have not Keyshawn George? Or maybe it is Keyshawn George.
No, he's with Utah, which is why they traded for Jared Jackson.
Okay, so they have somebody else with the last name George then, and I don't remember who it is. off the top of my head, but he's been nice with the Wizards. Let me make sure I'm not crazy though.
All right, well,
it is Keyshawn George. KYSHAWN.
but by the way, FYI, Josh, your screen's frozen on my end. There we go. You just came back after like 2 minutes of being completely frozen.
Oh, damn.
So, but yeah, this is a weird one. I feel bad for AD. When I first heard it, I thought they were just going to buy him out, but it sounds like they want him there. And I'll say this: when I was in DC, the Capital One Arena, to see the Cavs and Wizards, I would have loved to see Trae Young and Anthony Davis. The Wizards are at least going to be able to sell some tickets.
Yeah, because from what you told me, it was mostly Cavs fans.
It was about 95% Cavs fans. You couldn't find a Wizards fan on the street. And they were reusing old stuff from the Capitals game that was left over. They didn't even have Wizards branding.
So I looked ahead to when the Wizards come to Cleveland. We're going to be wearing our black jerseys. The Wizards are going to be wearing those weird, like, gold jerseys that they have.
Yeah.
That's going to be an ugly uniform matchup. Good God.
We talked about this a little bit earlier too, but what are your thoughts on Giannis that he was not moved? I kind of was like, if he's not going to go to the Cavs or the Knicks, he's probably not getting traded. I know there's some thoughts out there that Milwaukee could keep him next year. Maybe they go big again. I think Milwaukee, I understand Giannis is one of their own, but he's won a championship with them. I think it's time for a divorce. I think the Spurs in the summer should give up a Stephon Castle or Dylan Harper. Give away some picks. Go out and get Giannis. Or, the Rockets, if they were to flame out, maybe you talk about giving up a Sengun for Giannis and pairing him with Ahmed Thompson and Kevin Durant. Like, I think that is the type of return that the Milwaukee could get this summer. And I didn't think they were going to get it at the deadline.
Yeah, because more teams are going to be in the mix come the offseason. Teams will be able to give Milwaukee more picks than they are right now. I thought Miami would pull the trigger, but everybody thinks Miami's going to pull the trigger, and then Pat Riley just gets his 8 hours of sleep and does nothing at the trade deadline.
See, a lot of people said that. Here's my argument. What does Miami have to give up?
You could potentially give up Tyler Hero, or...
I mean, for Milwaukee, is Tyler Hero really that good where I could potentially get a Karl Anthony Towns or, like I said, a Sengun or even, a Stephon Castle or a De'Aaron Fox, maybe even Evan Mobley this summer? Like, Tyler Hero's not even close to the offers I think some of these teams can put together.
No, and I don't think Miami would give up Bam Adebayo.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, to me, if I'm Milwaukee, you'd have to give up Bam and Tyler Hero, and then he's just Giannis in Miami. He's basically the Bucks South.
Yeah. So, but no, this wasn't surprising that he wasn't traded, and I think part of it was, yes, he's expressed that he wants to move on, but he never really put his foot down and said, trade me.
Well, according to Shams, he did. And by the way, he was also booing the fans in Milwaukee. It was very out of character. It smelled like to me, and I know he's hurt right now. I don't know if he would have been hurt for long if he got traded. I'm just going to put that out there.
I could see the Bucks theoretically shutting him down for the rest of the season.
And by the way, I think they should. I think they need to get the highest draft pick they possibly can. It's a very good NBA draft. And, we'll see. Listen, if Giannis didn't win a championship for them yet, I would have understood it. I think this summer, it's time. He's won a championship. Now, albeit, if you look really hard at that championship, they did catch a lot of breaks. But I said this the other day on Brandon's World, and you may completely disagree with me. You may agree with me. For 2 years, I thought the year they won the championship and the year after, Giannis was the best player in the NBA in the world, bar none. But then all of a sudden, you miss the playoffs a couple of years. Giannis gets hurt. Nikola Jokic breaks on the scene. Anthony Edwards breaks on the scene. Luka Doncic breaks on the scene. Victor
SGA.
SGA, Victor Wembanyama, and all of a sudden, is Giannis' feelings hurt that like he goes from undisputably the best player in the league to like you could make the argument he's sixth in a year?
I would even throw Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown in the mix there alongside Jalen Brunson.
I would take Giannis over all three of those guys. Brunson, I think, is a real interesting argument because I need to see what the Knicks do in the postseason.
I thought the Knicks would be more active at the trade deadline.
I mean, they like their team, and my big takeaway from this is the East is saying they don't believe the Pistons are that good. They believe that everybody is dead even in the East. Boston thinks that we don't know if Tatum's going to come back or not. It's sounding like no, but maybe he does. The one team I think the Cavs feel like we got momentum. We can win the East. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think the East is pretty even.
Yeah, nobody's really separated themselves from the rest of the pack.
Well, and again, the Pistons have, I think now, and with SGA being hurt, by the way, I think the Pistons now have the best record in the NBA, or maybe they're right up there with OKC. But I don't think anybody trusts a team led by JB Bickerstaff to actually get past the second round.
No. I mean, he got outcoached by Joe Mazzulla in the second round a couple years ago against the Celtics.
He was outcoached in every series he's ever coached in his life with the Cavs. But there's two other surprising moves. One of them was very similar to the Anthony Davis, which was Jared Jackson. I already talked about it. Utah has a bunch of young players. They reportedly feel like they can win next year. I think Golden State trading for Kristaps Porzingis felt like a desperate move, felt like a win-now move. Why they didn't go after Anthony Davis puzzled me a little bit. But I got to put my hand up and say that, unfortunately, Josh, I have to admit you were right again. Not only were you right about the Toronto Raptors, but I was wrong on the Chicago Bulls, who now, for whatever reason, have 10 guards.
11.
They traded away Nikola Vucevic, for Alfred Simons. It doesn't make any sense to me. This team is seemingly falling apart and will never be good, I guess, post Michael Jordan. But even Boston, again, getting Nikola Vucevic, another piece. They're saying the East is wide open. We may not be able to win the championship, but we might. So let's go for it.
Yeah. I do have to say, I think the Celtics were the biggest winners of the trade deadline because of the Nikola Vucevic acquisition. He kind of reminds me of what they had in Porzingis.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I think Porzingis was more skilled in terms of his dribbling and his passing.
Yeah, but other than that, Vucevic can do a lot of the same things that Porzingis
can.
Well,
who's their point guard going to be now? Peyton Pritchard?
I'm trying to... I don't know.
Because Simons replaced Drew Holiday.
Yeah, because Drew Holiday got traded to Portland, and you're actually 100% right on that one.
It looks like it's going to be Peyton Pritchard, and they'll put Derek White at the 2 when Tatum gets back.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown would be at the 3. Tatum would be at the 4.
4, and then Vucevic at the 5.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. That is in the East. Is that a team that could make the finals? I think it could if you get Tatum back, which, again, we don't know.
Yeah. I do like what the Lakers did picking up Luke Kennard. That gives another shooter.
Well, here's my thing about the Lakers, though, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't care what they did because they have 0% shot to win the title this year.
I'm not saying they're title contenders.
Well, they don't play defense, and this year's irrelevant because LeBron's out the door. So I don't care what they did.
The fact that they got blown out by 30 against us was hilarious.
Well, and you know what the funny thing was? They played all their guys in the first half, and then in the second half, they're like, we don't have Austin Reeves. We don't have another scorer.
Yeah. And the crowd actually got excited when Bronny James came in and was making baskets, and he had that amazing dunk.
I'm here to say, wherever LeBron will go, Bronny will be next year with him. I mean, who knows? LeBron may be a Cav next year. I mean, the fact that Brian Woodhorse has basically come out and said LeBron's going to be a Cav next year, I don't know. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. But in terms of the rest of the trade deadline, nothing really surprised me. I did say Utah was going to make the playoffs this season. I think I was wrong about that. So I will admit that. But definitely the Jaren Jackson pick or trade surprised me. The fact that they did not trade Ja was a little bit surprising.
Well, who wants him? And that's the problem. He's athletic, but he's got too many character problems. He's got a bad contract, and nobody wants to deal with him midway for the season.
And I think that was the reason nobody traded for him, is because of exactly what you just said, the character issues.
And of course, we'll be following the NBA through now February all the way to the playoffs. I do think, as of right now, even with SGA out, clearly to me, Thunder, Spurs, Nuggets. Those are the three best teams in the NBA that I think are duking it out for the title, if you ask me.
I do. It's interesting that you say those three. I don't disagree, but I think they were the biggest winners of Giannis not getting traded. Whether it would have been to Minnesota, possibly, or to Golden State, by him staying put in Milwaukee, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Denver are the biggest winners.
Yeah, and I picked Houston to win the title before the year. I like them. I just don't know if they have the depth. Denver's depth has surprised me. I just think Wembanyama and Jokic have been way better this year than I initially expected. The Thunder are just way too good out of their minds. But still, with Oklahoma City, I just feel like with the Spurs, how are you going to beat Wembanyama 4 times in a 7-game series? I got to wrap my head around that.
Yeah. I was very excited for that game last night, but then I read like half of OKC's roster was out. I was like, damn.
Shall we get to what you have coined me in a text as the Royal Fumble? Well, wait, but before we do that, let's answer this question real quick. Which team did you expect to make a trade but didn't do the trade? Honestly, if I had to answer this question, it would be the Cavs not getting Giannis. In full transparency, I thought it could have happened today.
I thought the Spurs would be more active to try and keep up with Oklahoma City. I also thought Miami would maybe do something, but Pat Riley continues to just take naps during the trade deadline.